According to the Agriculture Department, 40% of U.S. organic producers also sold non-organic goods in 2012, suggesting that many of America's organic operations hedge their bets with conventional and even genetically modified crops.
Farmers aren't necessarily in distinct groups. There are farmers out there who are both organic farmers and conventional farmers, or both organic farmers and biotech farmers at the same time.
Some organic purists are critical of the so-called split farming operations, fearing that the cross-pollination or intermingling of genetically engineered crops with their products could hamper organic sales. But farmers who embrace organic production and methods relying on biotechnology say they're able to make informed decisions each year based on both economic and environmental concerns.
I think there's a benefit because it helps with our risk, because we had a few years there where it was so wet we couldn't get out there and do the proper weed control in the organic. So we had our other crops that we were able to spray and maintain them, and so they were still good even though the organic weren't so good. And I think that has helped to have more diversity. We are very diverse here.
Jim Peterson, his wife Julie, and their 4 children farm near Knoxville, Iowa. The Petersons grow about 450 acres of soybeans, a quarter being organic. Roughly 1/3 of their 350 acres of corn also is organic, as are most of the farm's hay, oats, and rye crops. To further diversify, the family also owns 300 head of cattle and 800 ewes. But the Petersons say they have not yet found the transition to certified organic livestock to be practical.
When we started it, everybody kind of wanted organic soybeans, but the organic corn didn't have as much of a premium. So we thought, well, we could feed it to the calves. Well, that year that we started with the calves, there was a demand for the organic corn, and so there was a good premium, so we decided just to go ahead and cash in instead of feeding it to our own.
Since certifying organic land is a lengthy process, Peterson evaluates soil quality and terrain to determine which land is optimal to transition to organic.
I've seen in our area that some of the hillier ground and that's thinner, that I'm not going to do organics on it, or very rarely would I do organics on it because of it needs to be treated differently. It needs the fertilizer fed to it on a higher rate than I can do with my organic, and the tillage, I don't like to do it on those hills as much either because of the soil loss possibility.
It's quite possible to do both on the same farm. The split operation is very reasonable, and there's nothing to say that it can't work well on the same farm.
The Petersons own 550 acres and rent another 2,000 for pasture and crops. They try to respect the preferences of landlords when making decisions related to planting, and that can be challenging. Some landlords refuse to allow genetically modified crops on their acres, while others are adverse to increased weeds that often accompany organic production. And for Peterson, switching rented land from conventional to organic is risky.
A lot of the land we farm is rented, and we only have 1-year contracts with the landlords. And so it takes the 36 months to get the transition to have it being organic. So I don't want to take the time of doing that and then lose the farm in the process.
Peterson acknowledges that organic production is labor-intensive. He spends extra time cleaning equipment to remove residue from prior crops, and he also cultivates 2 or 3 times each growing season to minimize weed pressure. But he says the premium he receives for organic products justifies increased investments of time, labor, and money. Still, he's unwilling, so far, to give up genetically engineered crops that require less work and enable him to spread his financial risk over multiple methods of production.
There are some certifying agencies that say if you are doing organic, you cannot do the GMO crops. My feeling has been if you can plant a crop that will take less chemicals to control weeds, then that's a good thing. I think the chemicals will do more harm than the GMO crop myself.
It takes different management skills to have both on the same farm. You really have to think hard about how you're going to operate your farm. So the management is probably a higher level, but it's a management decision. It's not a cultural or social or religious decision. Let's put it that way.
For Market to Market, I'm Paul Yeager.